Hey homies, what's up? Ryan Wynn here with another episode of Late Night Inks. So tonight we will be inking this Venomized Deadpool sketch cover. And sometime this week, maybe tomorrow, I'll be getting to ink this Captain Marvel sketch cover for a friend who collects all different Captain Marvels. I've done a few variations for him, and he really liked the Mohawk one. And this was his request. I gotta fix a few things in the illustration, but we'll get to that later. Alright, right now I'm deciding and debating if I want to use a brush marker or an actual brush. And I think we're gonna go with a brush marker on this one. But then again, everyone uses brush markers. I think you guys come here for the brush demo. The reason I don't want to do a split is because the ink in these does not play well with my regular ink. One is oil-based, one is ink-based, and they don't, or dye-based, and one is ink-based, and they don't mix well. But I think we're gonna go brush pen. Now, you know what? Let's get our warm-up sheet back out here. Same one we've been using all week. Just find a little spot here, or clean spot, I should say. Now, when I use these, this is a newer one. It's got a little bit of a very fine tip on it. You can get really thin if you go light. I'm just doing some wispy thin lines here. Just barely let that little tip of the brush drag across the paper. And you can get a nice thick line out of it too. Now, when you're using a brush marker on a sketch cover, you got to be a little more forgiving of the lines. Sketch cover paper is pretty good bristle, but a lot of the times they've been packed with a bunch of other boards, and the tooth of the paper's been flattened, and it's inconsistent. And brush markers tend to be a little inconsistent too. You get a similar line to a brush, but you're dealing with a felt tip. Excuse me. You're dealing with a felt tip, and the more you push on it this way, the more it's going to tend to curve that way. So you kind of got to always be spinning it around. Where a regular brush doesn't quite get like that till the end of the day and it's been loaded with ink all day. I hear a cat rummaging around somewhere. Alright, so do little warm-ups. Yeah, you guys hear that scratching? That's my cat on his scratching post. I usually have him locked up for this stuff, but let him out today. Alright, do some crosshatch warming up. I haven't really inked all day, so this is my first warm-up. Usually I have inked all day, but we spent the time cleaning the studio. We had to go out and do some shopping, so we masked up and took all the proper procedures and did all that stuff. So it's midnight here, and I'm on a weird schedule. I'll probably be up working on art and commissions for the next 4 or 5 hours. I'd like to get back to going to bed earlier, but it's where I'm at right now. Alright, I feel warmed up. Let's bring over our Deadpool. Excuse this clicky noise, I gotta adjust my desk. There we go. Now I've got two markers on hand. I got one that's sharper than the other and one that's duller. So I'm gonna close up the sharper one and use the duller one right now so that we can do our contour lines first. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start right here. I'm gonna adjust the camera a little bit. All right. So I tend to pull away with the real brush more and pull in with the brush marker more. And that has to do with the way the felt tip marker works, like I was explaining in the warm-up. I tend to get a more consistent line and the line I want when I'm pulling towards my body or towards my hand. So as usual, my elbow is out about 45 degrees from the body, and then this drops about 45 degrees back in front of your body. And away we go. So we're going to go nice and bold on these. Cut in front with that brow. Go heavy on this underside. I know it's not a contour line, but it's part of this brow structure, so we'll hit that line up. Go a little heavier on this underside, even though all the lines are going to be kind of thick on the outside. Hit up these teeth. I'm not a big Deadpool fan, but I love drawing him. And last year somebody commissioned a Venomized Deadpool, and it was the funnest thing I'd drawn, so I wanted to draw it again. And I'd like to start a sketch cover show because I have so many sketch covers I've been collecting over the last couple of years, with the intent of starting a sketch cover show where I go from beginning to end, from blank sketch cover to final inked product. And as usual, I like to do, I should have started here. I messed up. I hit these because I like to go across, but without touching these. Cut in front and do these tooth lines here. Now these thicker lines, I like to start light, and right at the very beginning, you bear down and you just hold it until you finish the stroke. I get a nice consistent line. Whip that over. That's foreshortening there a little bit over the lip, over the chin. Not as big of a chin as I've given some of my Deadpools in the past, or my Batmans, but it's a good chin. Alright, there we got that long line. Alright, cat's on the lap. Hey, you're hitting the clacky part of the desk, cat. So these are long lines that you want to throw, and you want to, just like with the regular brush, you want to start where you want to end without touching down, pull back, and then bear down. Bam. All right, we're going to take a cat break, and I'm going to take care of my cat, and then I'll be back. All right, did you even know I was gone? Hope not. So we're going to continue our contour shape. So our mechanics for inking, you line up where you want the line to end, go back to where you start, boom. Same thing applies here. And you can see I'm always doing the either a thin to thick, a thick to thick, thin to thin. Like you got to think of it like patterns. That was a thin to thick on that one. And here we're going to do a thin to thick around the piping on his collar. And then down the collar we can go, let's see, I want to line it up with that neckline. See, my line's a little off. And yeah, the collar would be, it's another layer, but it looks off. So we want to line that curve up here. And there's kind of a thin to thick. And here we're just going to go bold. Slight thin to thick. And this is the meditative part of inking. So while you're inking, you should be thinking thick line, thin line, thick line, connecting line, and, you know, practice that. Okay, let's see. We're going to go back up here. And it eventually becomes a quieter voice in the back of your head going on, and you don't actually have to be thinking that stuff out loud, but that's how you practice stuff like meditation. I recommend a calm breathing pattern. I also recommend breathing in through the nose if you really want to get a calm state going. Breathe in slowly through the nose and have your jaw relaxed and sort of hanging open. A lot of people tend to clench their jaws really tight when they're inking, and you want to be as relaxed as possible. Some people take a little smoke, some people take a little drink, some people are cool without any of that. But no matter what, the meditative state is a really cool place to get with inking. You forget about everything going on outside. You forget about all the people being idiots on Twitter. Okay, we're going to define some of these teeth. As you can see, I'm breaking my rules. We didn't do all the contours before we're going in and doing some of the details, but I've got a sense of this brush now, and the way I was just using it to make those thicker lines, it bent the little felt tip, and it's kind of got a decent little point, so I'm going to hit some thinner lines while we're doing that. Alright, we're going to keep our breathing steady. These teeth are more chunky than sharp. I kind of like that. I like his... Looks like he would just grind up your bones. Alright, we're going to do a thick to thin here. And then a thin to thin, thick to thin. Some sort of like muscle tissue stretching open. Give him sort of a monster quality. Alternate some of the lines. Then we'll do a nice little thin to thick to thin. Just like our diamond lines that we've been practicing with our brush. Alright, now we're going to do where these teeth sink into the skull. Keep your breathing steady if you're inking at home while you watch this. And you'll sort of learn one of the lessons of meditation and stuff like that that I learned, and you can learn it too, is that you can help your anxiety just by controlling your breathing. And it's not like, oh, I learned a breathing technique and my anxiety's cured. It's nothing like that, but it's a lifelong practice, of course. But when you can slow everything down, you can slow your breathing down, you can relax your heart rate, your thoughts come by slower, and you can think things out better. And inking can help you do that without having to sit on a mat in a quiet room and do ohms and stuff like that. Which that stuff is fine too. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, let's do his little seam he's got here. His thin lines. Alright, we're looking at time here. Hey, we're only 5 minutes in and we're getting somewhere. Gonna continue on with this tongue. Let's see, so I like my hand curves this way, so I could do this line, but if I just turn it like this, it's that much more comfortable for me to do the thick to thin line that I wanted to do there. And here we're going to go thin to thick to pop that part of the tongue away from that part. And here we're going to go thick to thin and then thick again on that drop. And we'll curve. I like to do my hands comfortable doing this. You want to find how your hand is comfortable making curved lines. And you do that by practicing. You don't do that by inking finished pieces. you practice on sketch paper. Alright, now we're going to do a pull away line, which I haven't done much of. I don't really like doing that with the brush markers. I don't get the same line as I do with a regular brush. Alright, we're going to go in and finish up some of these teeth on the inside of the mouth. And then here's that weird part of the tongue, that flap that connects to the bottom. And we'll have it pushing like that. Some black space in there. These will be black or shaded in, kind of thick. Okay, now let's. I don't like this line, so we're gonna beef it up and kind of change the direction of it. Make the skin look like it's stretching around his giant mouth opening. We'll go thin, and we can break these lines up a little because the lip is pushing up against the teeth and gums pretty good. We'll have it beef up as it gets back here towards this connecting section. Okay, let's go down and finish these contour lines like we were supposed to originally. See, I didn't turn the board enough and I got a shaky line there because the felt was bent a certain way, and as I curved out, the felt kind of flipped back and jutted the line out. So that's where I get a little irritated with the brush marker, but then you're like, but you knew better, dude. You knew it had that possibility of doing it. That's why you turn the board a little more. There we go. See, when I get the board in the position I like, I can get the line I like. And all this stuff took years to learn, by the way. It's not weeks or months. It takes years, but in weeks and months, you can learn a lot, and you can make tremendous strides. Here we go, thin all the way across. A little heavier on the underside. The sword hilt here. And again, I'm not being too picky with the lines. It's a brush marker. It's on a sketch cover. This isn't an actual cover for printed work, you know, so I still want it to be my best, but it's my best version of that. It's one of the reasons I enjoy doing sketch cover commissions, is they may not be as super precise as an actual commission or something that went to print, but there's something about the freedom, sort of the fun. I tend to really like the characterizations I get on my sketch covers, and people seem to enjoy them. So I will be opening my sketch cover shop soon. I've got a whole cache of finished ones that are pretty cool. I was giving a few away and doing a few for charity for my shop and for my friend's shop this week. Alright, gonna go thick and thick on those, and now I'm gonna do one of these. It's a long curved line, or just a slight curve, I should say, so I have a little more control. I really like the way those came out. Alright, so here we'll be back to pulling towards us. Gotta match the other side. I went heavy and heavy there. Alright, how are we looking, guys? 11 minutes in. Not bad. To our word balloons. I don't try to make them look like actual word balloons. I do kind of just fun sketch covery loose balloons. It's so tingly. That's some sort of Deadpool venomized spider sense thing. I don't know. I thought it worked. And we'll have his Deadpool spider sense tingly energies coming off here. So when you move fast with the brush marker, you'll get a little bit of a dry brush effect like that, or very much a dry brush effect. I kind of like that for these background or secondary elements to the image. So what I'm thinking of doing with these videos is I may not try to do them live. I may keep it going like this, and what I'll do is schedule them. And if we get enough people watching them when they're scheduled to air, I can go and hang out in the comments, and if you have questions and stuff, we can do that almost like it's live. I've been getting great feedback from people and really good requests, and a lot of people are learning more about the brush. They're intimidated by the brush. They're excited to do the brush. I decided I would do this with brush marker so that the people that are maybe a little intimidated by brush, try brush marker. Here I'm just kind of bearing down and getting a chiseled effect, nice blunt line on the ribbons that wrap around the sword handle. And then they're sort of twisted, and usually a bead or a knot kind of locks them in place and creates that little crisscross pattern that you see on swords. All right, let's see. I think I want to go really heavy on the rendering. This is dark material, and this is dark material. I'm debating how heavy of a pen I want to use. Let's see. Maybe we get a bigger brush marker. No, you know what? I'm going to try and just do it with this one. Let's do our lettering. It's so tingly. All right, so if we're going there, we're gonna just do zigzag patterns. These are sort of fun. They almost look like crosshatch or rendering. And you can't really go wrong with them. I'd practice this on another board if I were you. Get used to going back and forth within shapes like that. Like create little shapes like that and then go back and forth filling them in like that. It gives you it's a great practice. It's a great exercise for being able to adjust your strokes on the fly. All right, so here I'm gonna grade out with the thin, kind of consistent lines. A little heavier under the brow there. I'm going to see if I like that, and if I don't, we can fill it in with black. It's getting a little dry out here. I think, well, let's see. Let's look. For a second, I was going to abandon it and just go ahead and fill it in, but I kind of like that. I want to keep the line direction consistent over here. Now it'll look like these lines have continued, but I actually got to take a break because of this rendering here. And here we can even cheat a little, and we can do these lines first. It's okay if they change direction a little. Yeah, but see, I didn't get consistent. Alright, but still, we're going to finish out the idea. Now to continue these lines, I'm just going to flip it over and continue them like that. You guys can probably hear my cat yelling from the other room. Alright, let's see how that looks. You know what? I do like that now. That totally works for me. So then we're going to kind of make that a consistent thing, where maybe we don't do solid blacks on this guy. Dealing with grays. Alright, so that's the inside of the mouth. We did that sort of that same tonal pattern as that. Now we got a little rendering on the split part of the tongue, and we're going to do a little bit of a cast shadow from his mouth here. It's not really where it would be, but you kind of fudge stuff in illustrations and sketches like this. Then we'll do similar shading under the tongue. There we go. Actually, I'm liking that. Do a little rendering here to help define the shape of the head. I think we're going to avoid the cast shadow of the neck and chin there. I'm not sure about that yet. But now we're going to go in and do some bold bear down with the brush pen on the side. And the shadow on the top and the shadow on the bottom here creates sort of a highlight on that muscle as it goes up. There we go. See our zigzags again. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to bear down with the brush. I'm going to start to zigzag. So even if you're just an inker, oh, we didn't finish this strap here. You want to know a little bit about the anatomy. You don't want to just study comic book anatomy, although that is important. It's just as important to kind of figure out what works well in a comic book that isn't really reality. You know, look where Jack Kirby took it. All right, here we're going like a sort of medium to thick line. You know, he took his style from reality, and then eventually his style was very almost like abstract muscles and things like that. All right. Say all right like I'm done. Do the sheath for his sword there. And I do think, oh no, see, I was about to say I think we're done. The little spittles coming off there. And then of course we have to sign it. All right, well, I hope you learned something about brush markers. I should have said, but this one was in the beginning. It's the fine tip zebra one. It's a blue barrel. They make two other versions that are a little thicker, that have gray barrels, light gray and a dark gray. These are very similar to the Tombow brush markers, so you can get the same effect from those. So let me know in the comments if you have used brush markers before, or if you are trying to learn more about brush markers or brushes. And I'm going to keep noodling on that a little bit. But thank you for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take it easy. And if you haven't already, head over to alternaaccess.com and check out the book I wrote, Gods and Gears, with art by Dean Kotz and letters by Wes Loker. Issue 4 is out soon.
Stupid cat.